So Fury Warrior is currently all the way down there. So it means we need to work really hard to make sure that we're top DPSing. So let's explain how to do that. Right, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, champions, and welcome back to another video. And today we're talking about how to be the best Fury Warrior in its current working ability, which is quite poor. We're quite low down. But by doing some of these tips and tricks, it will help you be the best Fury Warrior in Shadowlands prior to Tuesday's patch. So before we go into how to be the best Fury Warrior, on Tuesday the 12th of January, Fury Warrior is going to be getting an 8% buff on all of its abilities. So we will hopefully be putting out more damage, but as the current time of filming this, we're not the best. So let's do some of these tips and tricks to make you even better as a Fury Warrior. Very quickly before we start, I go live on Twitch every Tuesday, Wednesday and Sunday from 7:30 till 10:30, doing raid progression, doing Mythic Plus pushing, and doing some community events. So do come on out, the link's there. Also make sure to give the channel a like, comment, subscribe, because it helps me out massively and helps us grow. And as we are growing at a tremendous rate at the moment, thank you everyone. So this is going to be a really quick, relatively quick guide on how to be the best Fury Warrior. We're going to go over the main things that will help you perform best in raiding and Mythic Plus. We won't go into details on covenants and such because I've got a load of videos which I'll link throughout the video. So starting off, we've got the basic stats and the stat priority. It was different in the first video that I made because meta has changed, and in previous expansions it was different. So the current order in which you need things to be is strength, followed by haste, which is equal to mastery, then crit, and then versatility. The reason you want haste to be up as quickly as possible is mainly because it means you can pump out your spells as fast as possible, meaning you in turn get more rage generation from that. You then want mastery to be equal to, roughly, haste, because it means during your enraged phases, which you should be enraged 90% of the time, you get an increased buff on your overall damage output during that enraged phase. And then crit just helps you deal double damage and means the proccing of that double damage is done more often, kind of thing. And then versatility, your last one, which gives you an overall buff on health and damage output. So every decision you make when you're getting loot is in order to attribute to both haste and mastery, and make sure that you're always going for ones that will boost up those two as well as your overall strength. Next up, we've got our talent build, and this is kind of one of the peak ones that you want to be going for. This is one of the best ones, and I've changed mine personally from the previous video that I've done, but here are some of the best ones to be choosing. I'm not going to go into massive details about why the choice. I want this to be a quick, snappy guide. So here's a screenshot of them, and we're going to quickly go over the choices. So in your top row, you want to be choosing fresh meat because it gives bloodthirst, is always enrages you the first time you strike a target, and it also gives you 15% increase chance to trigger enrage. In your second row, you want to be picking double time because this one's going to help you bump around the map as quickly as possible so you can get onto as many targets, especially as a Fury Warrior. Our speed and ability is key. On this next one, you do have the choice between Massacre and Frenzy. I've personally gone for Massacre, as this one now lets you execute targets below 35% rather than just the 25. On your fourth row, you're going to be wanting to be taking War Paint because this gives you a 10% reduced damage while you're in rage, which means that your healers don't have to focus on you just as much. On the next row, you want to be going for Cruelty because while in rage, Raging Blow deals 20% more damage and has a chance to reset, which means you can be putting out a lot more damage. Next up, I've gone for Dragon Roar because I find this one kind of deals more damage overall than what something that Blaze Storm would do, and this has more ability to work in multiple situations. Blaze Storm tends to only work on +5 targets, whereas Dragon Roar can work on any amount of targets that are in front of you. And then lastly, we're going to go for Anger Management because this means that for every 20 rage you spend, you reduce the cooldown of Recklessness. So if you're doing the rotation correctly, you can be putting out as much damage as humanly possible. So these are your key ones to go for, and we're going to the next thing, which is rotation, which is key. So at the moment, our rotation is basically what's holding up Fury Warriors, and if you're not doing your Fury Warrior rotation right, then it will affect your overall output damage, and there is a prime way of doing this. Again, there's a video up here on weak auras, and there's a weak aura that I specifically use to help me with my rotation. I recommend having this because it will help prompt you what you're doing. Very quickly, as a brief thing to say, it's not much of a rotation as it is a priority system, and you want to be casting certain things when you're enraged and certain things when you're not enraged to help trigger your enrage overall. There's going to be 3 main rotations that we talk about, which is going to be your pool rotation, your generic rotation, and your AoE rotation. So let's go over those quickly. So your generic rotation is going to start off with you. So this is you've just started, you're just going for single target, one boss, you're in raid. You want to make sure that you're going to pre-pop, you're then going to charge and cast Recklessness. And then from here, your weak aura should be prompting you what to do. So generally speaking, you should be getting a Condemn trigger from this, which will then lead straight into a Rampage and then go straight into your Raging Blows and Bloodthirsts. From here, you're just going to keep maintaining as much damage as possible by doing the most prominent spell that you need to do. So your generic rotation will look like the following anyway. So that was your intro one. This one's your generic one. So you want to make sure you cast Recklessness, which will then lead you into getting a Raging Blow trigger, which then should mean that you get a rampage. So once your rampage is up, you are now enraged and you can now do a dragon roar. You should only be doing a dragon roar whilst you're enraged, which is usually triggered by bloodthirst or by your rampage. Once you've done those 2 spells, you'll make sure you cast your bloodthirst and then 2 raging blows, and then from here you fill with whirlwind. The entire time you're basically wanting to get yourself to 80 rage to make sure you're putting out as much rampage as possible. So everything you do is in order to get yourself either enraged or getting a rampage out, because both of those will mean you do overall better damage. As I said, this is a priority list, and having this weak aura from the video that I've just linked is going to be key in making sure you're putting out the right things at the right times. It's really hard to say what exactly to cast, but there has been an infograph at the bottom, so that should help you along. Generally speaking, it will be cast Recklessness, Rampage, Condemn, Dragon Roar, Bloodthirst, and 2 Raging Blows, and then using your Whirlwind as filler. And then you have your AoE rotation, which as a Fury Warrior is actually really simple. It is literally cast Whirlwind, cast 2 any spells, cast a Whirlwind again, and you repeat that over and over and over, because basically your Whirlwind will give you a buff, which means the next 2 abilities will hit up to 4 targets surrounding you. Again, during this time, if you have the weak auras, it will tell you what one to best cast, so you might do a Whirlwind and have to cast a Rampage straight away, or you might have to cast 2 Raging Blows and then do a Whirlwind and then cast your Rampage. Anything that will give you the most amount of damage and anything that triggers is what you want to be casting first. By following these 3 separate things of stat priority, talents, and rotation, you should be putting out as much damage as possible. Now, there's a few things that you can do to help make yourself even better as a warrior. For example, downloading a thing called SimC and using /pawn, and both of these things will help you make sure you're choosing the best gear to make sure you're putting out the most amount of damage. Basically, once you've got these 2 add-ons, what you want to do is type in /SimC in chat. You're then going to copy that and put it onto a website called Raidbot. Raidbot will then give you a quick sim, which will show you how much damage you should be putting out, or you can put it into stat rates, which will give you the pawn string. And then once you go into your bag, or when you get some loot, it will tell you basically the percentage and how it will help you become a better warrior. Overall, through doing the correct rotation, through having the right talents and making sure that your gear is going in the correct direction, you are going to be putting out most damage. Now, here's a bonus tip, which may or may not work. It's currently in School of Thought. So this bonus tip is about Single-Minded Fury, and Single-Minded Fury is a new passive talent which will give you a 12% bonus on your overall damage if you have 2 one-handed weapons being held by your warrior. I haven't been able to experiment it as much. I've been using it for about a week or 2 and I can't fully see the results of it because I've had to be balancing my eye levels because I had to get them at a lower level. However, there does seem to be a damage increase here. I have noticed with my lower item level one-handers, I'm putting out the same damage as my higher item level two-handers. Therefore, I would predict when those one-handers become the same eye level as my two-handers, they should put out more damage. So it's worth testing. There's not much out there on whether this is the most efficient build or not. However, it's definitely key for you to try out and see. Get yourself 2 one-handers, run it, run the rotation, run the talents and the stat priority, and see if it works for you. Let us know down below as well if it has worked for you, if you currently are running a Single-Minded Fury build yourself. So overall, if you are ensuring that your talent build is correct, that your stat priority is correct, and the rotation is locked down, then you should be the best warrior for Shadowlands, and you should hopefully make Fury Warrior a decent spec again. Again, there is a buff coming to them on the 12th of January, so if you watch this afterwards, then the buff is already there and maybe the damage is insanely good. Do put a comment down below if you've noticed a significant increase with that 8%. But other than that, I hope this has been helpful. Hopefully it's not been too long. I really wanted to just fly through rotation, stat priority, talent, and then the ways that you can make yourself a little bit better by using those add-ons. Other than that though, be sure to catch us live on Twitch if you have any questions about Fury Warrior. I'll hopefully be able to answer your questions there, so do comment out every Tuesday, Wednesday and Sunday from 7:30 till 10:30 over at twitch.tv/oldschoolJRL. The biggest support comes through coming over there, as well as liking, commenting, subscribing to this channel. Do pop down below if you're a Fury Warrior and if you've noticed a change in your ability or if these tips have helped you. Other than that, we'll catch you next week for our next video. Bye bye.